Perfect. So a warm thank you to the opportunity today to be able to talk about two really precious subjects, and I mean sailing and plastic. So today I will share with you my own and unique narration. It will be kind of a storytelling where I will cover the habitual who, what, where, how, and why, but I will add to that some aspect of the life about a sailboat, especially on the ocean. I will share with you data about plastic pollution. I will introduce you to the world of solutions, and I hope to leave you with inspiration. And I do have to apologize because um, if you never heard about the plastic pollution before, your life might never be the same after today. And if, of course, you have heard a little bit about that that problem, I will try to give you updates on the situation and leave you with hope. So that said, what is exxpedition? Because I joined that organization and I want to explain who they are or what it is in fact. So exxpedition, it's a series of all-women voyage to make the unseen scene from the toxic in our bodies to the toxic in our seas. Which means in summary that exxpedition is there to raise awareness on an invisible problem. And then you might think, invisible, why that? We have seen picture of garbage everywhere. Why are you calling that an invisible problem? And it's what you will learn in a moment. So Emily Penn, the co-founder, a British woman, a sailor, awarded sailor in fact, was preoccupied by the impact of toxic chemicals in plastic having on or having what is the impact of those chemicals on human health. So she's been tested for a lot of chemicals and realized that in her own blood, she was, let's say, covered of chemicals from plastic or related to plastic. So from that, let's say, awareness, she decided to organize or to build with someone else that organization called exxpedition. So we know that plastic is filled with chemicals, and these chemicals, we know for sure now that they are acting as disrupting hormones, causing infertility and cancers and many more things that we might discover. So expedition started in 2014. You can see the map there, what they have done. So in 2014, they organized their first leg to sample microplastic. So the idea behind expedition is to recruit new women every leg, and then those women become, I should say, ambassador afterward, and they find their unique, very own way to tackle the plastic pollution depending of their background, their passion, and what we were calling at sea our superpower, which means our skills. And the two X in the name of the organization represent the female chromosome because female might be more sensitive to plastic, and unfortunately, because women can pass these chemicals in their body to their child when they give birth. So what is my link with exxpedition? I heard about it in 2015, first time ever. I started to apply when I saw what they were doing because every element of that organization were almost calling my name: sailing, science, health, education. So I wanted to be a part of them. They were just about to do the Run Britain. So they were recruiting at that moment for Run Britain. At that moment, my 4 children were still very young. And you probably know the kind of water around there. So cold, choppy water. So I decided to pass, crossing my fingers that maybe there will be another leg. And it's exactly what happened. Almost exactly 3 years ago, in April 2018, I received totally by coincidence a newsletter from exxpedition mentioning that Canada was offering a bursary to an Indigenous person to join them.
13 hours.
Pardon me?
That's okay. That's my computer telling the time.
Okay, perfect. Pardon me. So I cannot describe myself as an Indigenous person, but I'm a really stubborn person. So I got the information that one spot was left. And that was 5 days before the final deadline to apply. So I jumped on the opportunity because the leg that was coming was the voyage to Vancouver. So that was for me another thing that I always wanted to do, crossing an ocean. So even that leg was even calling my name louder, let's say that. So I jumped on the opportunity, I filled the online application, not knowing how to really present myself to convince them that I was the right person to fill that last spot. And I will explain soon why. It's because at that moment, I was a stay-at-home mom raising 4 kids. And I will return on that really soon. So I made the team. I joined exxpedition for that leg, Hawaii, Vancouver. So we were 14 women, 11 volunteers, including Emily Penn, the co-founder. And there were also 3 women from Pangea Exploration who owned and chartered the boat for exxpedition at that moment, because after that they have done other legs and I think they bought their own boat. So there were 1 professional skipper, first mate, and deck mate. And we were a multidisciplinary team, which is the idea behind exxpedition. So from that crew, we were product designer, teacher, photographer, filmmaker, scientist, and me, that stay-at-home mom who was also a yoga instructor. So it was for me hard to find my real place, because I was thinking to be in the scientific, to be described as a scientific, because I own a master's degree, but because I joined the team so late, some of them had been recruited a year before that. So when I've been recruited, departure was in 5 weeks. So I prepped myself in 5 weeks instead of having a full year like most of the women. So the team, the scientific team, has been already, let's say, briefed about all the protocols and everything. So I was feeling like not knowing where my right place on that crew. And we were from 5 different nationalities. Mostly, some of them, most of the ladies were from UK, 2 from Norway, 1 from Slovenia. We were 2 from Canada. The deck mate was also from Nova Scotia, and 1 from California. And I have to introduce you to Sea Dragon. She's beautiful. I miss that boat so much. So Sea Dragon is a Challenge 72-foot sailboat built in 2000. She's one of the 2nd generation yachts built for the Global Challenge race, meaning that she's been designed to sail the world the wrong way, upwind. And this is exactly what we've got. We've been sailing upwind the whole crossing. So that she has 3 sails. You can see at the front, there's a Yankee on the furler. There also, you can see on the deck, there is a sail there is a stay sail waiting there. And you can see the beautiful big main sail there. That boat is equipped with an electric winch that we were not allowed to use. Only the 3 ladies from Pangea Exploration were using it. Then most of the time we were winching on the manual winch, and we needed to be 2 ladies at the time in order to do that properly, let's say efficiently. So here is the route that was planned and the route that we have been taking. So the idea was to start from Hawaii on the islands of Oahu, and then go straight in the middle there in that area that we call a gyre. So a gyre is a large system with the circular current patterns that create an accumulation of plastic. And from what I know, I think it's still the worst place on Earth about plastic accumulation, plastic contamination, and it's now called the North Pacific Garbage Patch. So it's not necessarily the usual way to cross Hawaii to shore. Let's say people usually go right to Seattle or further down, San Francisco, but we were doing Hawaii, Vancouver on purpose to go straight in the middle there. So who I am to have been able to convince to convince exxpedition that I was the right person to fill the last spot. So I'm from Montreal. Obviously, you can hear that my English is still under construction, and you can hear my accent. So when I was still living in Quebec, I did an agronomy baccalaureate where I fell in love with the soil, and especially is linked to the water quality. After that, I did a master degree where I developed a phosphorus losses model to assess the risk of contamination to surface and subsurface waters, which led me to my dream job. I was a college teacher teaching best soil management practices to keep soil really healthy, but also knowing the link with water. For me, I was also teaching to the next generation of farmers, and I was also teaching them how to protect water in agricultural watersheds, which is not a small goal, I will say that. So that was back in Quebec. Then it was about, okay, now why are you here? So what happened? So life sometimes has a little surprise. I got 4 kids in 4 years. So when I was still teaching, I had 2 kids. Life was busy. Husband was working a lot. Then he had an offer to move to Toronto. I say, okay, perfect. I'll pause for 2 years, and maybe we will have a third kid. And that third kid turned out to be twins. So we got 4 kids in 4 years. So I decided to quit my job. We fell in love with the lake. We bought a CNC 30. And we decided to stay here and taking advantage of the lake and to sail. So all my 4 kids are sailor. My husband is a sailor. I sail as well. So this is me and my family just 2 weeks before departure to the ocean. So you can see my kids, my daughter at the left is 10 at that moment. The twins are 8 and my oldest is 12. And this is a picture taken during our sail pass at the OIS. So back in Toronto, so I quit my job in Quebec, and because I was mainly a stay-at-home mom, I needed a little something for myself to keep my brain sane, I will say. So I decided to become a yoga instructor. So I started my little own business, was convenient with the kids. I started to be a substitute teacher at an elementary school close by. So when I applied to exxpedition, I decided to sell myself as an educator, mentioning that I've been teaching all my life, whatever it is, science or yoga. I'm all around teaching, raising awareness on the environment, health. So that was my link to all who have been since then. And now that I'm back from the ocean, in fact, because people have heard about that, I was been more involved in science. So that gave me the fate, or maybe it was time for me to go back to full-time teaching. So I'm now a science teacher in a French high school in Oakville. So I told you that I had 5 weeks to prep myself. What I didn't tell you is that as a volunteer, I was also paying for the expedition. So everyone has to pay for his berth. So that cost in Canadian dollars was $10,000, which was clearly my retirement money that I decided to invest in that little trip, we'll say. So my husband was kind enough to say, yes, you can go, lovely, no problem. So he agreed with that, but it was a lot of money. So I decided to try to, and it was also, I decided to create a GoFundMe page to try to fund a little bit my expedition, but also that was for me an occasion also to talk about what I was going. So that was using maybe my skills, starting to educate about that problematic, knowing that when I will be back, people will want to know the second part of the story, what happened out there. So I contacted a lot of media. I've been in the news. I've been really busy chatting with journalists, contacting sponsors, and some of them have been reaching out afterwards, and I've been able to meet with them after and do some little more education. As I was also prepping my brain and also talking to media, I was also looking a little bit about my challenge and my fears to go crossing that ocean with you understand that I was going there with people that I've never met before as well. So I was trying to prep my family because it was the first time, obviously, that I will be away that long. The ocean crossing that we were planning, that route was taking us 21 days, plus the time to be there before and after. I was planning to be away for a full month. So I built that little book there for my husband. So the Mom Away book, to keep everyone alive, including dad, because that was a huge thing for him to take care of the 4 kids like this. I was also super preoccupied by English, knowing that there will be people from a few countries with a different accent, knowing that I will be tired, knowing as well that I'm super seasick. And that must be funny for you to hear that, but I'm really seasick, even on the lake here. So knowing that I will be seasick, knowing that I will be tired, that English perspective was bugging me a lot. And crossing an ocean, for sure, that was a dream, but that was also something that we don't do really easily, especially 21 days, knowing that they will be right in the middle of the gyre, a few days away from any type of help. That was something that was passing in my mind sometimes. So then I made it. Day one, arrived in Hawaii. We went the first thing. First, a nice way to connect people with that problematic, it's to ask them to do a beach cleanup, exactly what we have done. And that was my first consta, my first, the first time I really saw the face of the situation. So we went there, beautiful beach, and we started to collect some little pieces, colorful pieces of plastic on the beach, not understanding too much what was going on. And the more we were collecting, picking up those little pieces of trash, we were all wondering who left this there. You can see on the left bottom corner bigger plastic fragment, and the little details there, you can guess that this is the teeth from animal, confusing that plastic from confusing it with food. So we were all, the other women together, wondering, what are we picking up? Is it garbage? And then we realized that that was not garbage, because we were on an area that was protected, let's say, to summarize, a conservation park. So that beach was private, that was not something open to public. So these plastic pieces that you can see, and you can see as many as they are, was not there from tourists leaving this behind them. That plastic was coming from the ocean. So the beautiful Hawaii Islands are now contaminated by plastic, contaminated by the ocean. So that was a really first moment, really connecting deeply with the situation. So we've been there for maybe 2 hours, because after that, really tired, the eyes are tired to try to leave the organic material there, but just pick up the plastic fragments. So this is what we have collected: big part coming from the ocean again, and really small fragment, as you have seen on the picture. So that was day one. Day two, back on the boat, security briefing, which is really an obligation before that type of sailing. So we met our tether, a new friend. So that has been an obligation the whole time, to be tether. The whole time we were on a leash. And at some moment when we were further on our route, it was really cold. So with 4 layers of clothes, the life jacket, the tether, especially at night when it's super dark, I was feeling like an astronaut quite often. And you can see on the right side picture, you can see our survival suit. So we got a demo about that, and we were sleeping with that suit in our berth all the time, in case of emergency. Then we met our cabin. So this is on the left picture. You can see three rows of bunk berths. So you can see also, you can guess that there is a strap attached to the blue part of the bed, attached to, here it's the wall at the upper part of the picture, but it was either attached to the top or the wall beside. So We've been on the same tack for 7 days. So you can imagine that at some point we will be rolling out of our berth if we were not attached. So that little strap, we're just keeping everyone lying down. And the right side, you can see that we had one box for all our belonging. So we had just a really small place for us to store every all the stuff that we brought, and everything was strapped, like you can see, to avoid any accident. So here we are, June 25th, 2018, super sunny day in Hawaii, and it's departure. And I was finally happy to be there, putting my hands on sheets, because experience in sailing was not a prerequisite for joining expedition. So I was one of the few experienced sailor, and like I mentioned a few times since the beginning of my talk, I was not super comfortable to describe myself. Not really a scientist, not a photographer or a filmmaker to get more attention after the crossing. So the yoga instructor here was happy to be at least knowing what to know and how to use a winch. And then we learn, so we almost learned all this as we already have left the port. So we learned that we are in 3 different groups. One professional from Pangea Explanation in each team, working on a 4 hours shift, working on a rotation schedule, meaning that if the first team started at midnight the first day, they will be the following day starting at 4 a.m., so 4 to 8, and etc. We were running like this. During our shift, we had to handle the boat, helming all the time. We have been on autopilot, maybe I will say around 24 hours when we were right in the middle of the gyre and the wind died. Otherwise, we were helming all the time. So one person was helming about 45 1 hour, and then we were switching. As we were on shift, we had to cook or either wash dishes if it was after a meal. So the one watch was doing the meal, the other watch was doing the dishes. We also needed to clean the boat and to do the logbook, etc., stuff like this. So we were always almost working on something. And that was during the day and during the night as well. Another big knowledge or habit was to pump 23 times each time that we were using the head, so that there were 2 head exactly the same with shower. You can see that there is a little pedal. I would try to use my arrow to show you here at the bottom there is a little pedal. So to minimize the use of electricity, we were using everything manually. So we were pedaling, I can say that, to get water out of the faucet. The shower was a little bit different though, but to whatever we needed to, even when we were cleaning dishes, we were using our feet all the time. So life was not difficult, but that was a little bit harder than being at home, let's say that. And because I was seasick, the first 5 days, I almost don't remember anything. I was on sometimes two drugs for seasickness. I was using a patch, and on top of that, I was using gravel or something like this because I was really, really sick. And for me, I was not able to go inside. And every time I was going inside down below in the boat, it was to lie down, to sleep. So going to the head was almost an expedition itself. I had to visualize all the steps, taking out all my layers of clothes, running as much as possible, and the sea was rough. So holding myself, and I can tell you that lifting up my pen in the head was quite a challenge, and having that seasickness going on as well. So we learned to cook on an angle. We learned other safety protocol too, really important. We started with beautiful fresh product. And of course, at some point, hopefully the boat was super organized. Everything was labeled. So you can see the food in cans they were all labeled on the top. And you understand that as a crew sample microplastic, of course, we kept all our garbage. So we had to take off the bottom of every can and use our feet to crush it. And we were also removing the paper labels because that was going in paper and not with metal. So we were all categorizing our trash as well. But mealtime was always an happy time because everyone was cooking beautifully, putting a lot of effort, trying to be better than the watch before or the day before. So that was always excellent. That was a pure moment where everyone was together, and I took all my meal outside the whole time, rain or shine. Almost everyone did that, but because I was almost always seasick inside, at least when I was outside, I was well. So mainly I was outside, but even the meal was they were taking outside like this, and we were eating fast to replace the lady that was helming, because I told you that we were helming all the time. So another job was to fill the logbook. So it's just a regular logbook, but let's say what is important that I wanted to show you here. It's, for example, that day, which I don't have the date, but let's have a look at the wind. So we got 26 here and we got 35, 38. So we got fairly steady, strong wind. That day was ranging, between 26 and 38. What else I wanted to show you? Maybe the sea states, though that was ranging between 2 and 4. So that was not bad, but that was not the most comfortable ride. So here it is, day 5, we enter in the gyre. So that part where the current tried to accumulate everything. Before that, the sea was too rough, so we cannot really take sample. We were supposed to take sample every day, but before day 6, it wasn't possible. So we didn't know what to expect when we'll be in the gyre, because immediately the co-founder has warned us that eventually we'll be going in, or we'll be entering in the gyre. But we were not seeing any difference. We started to see some debris floating here and there, noticing water bottle with the cap, noticing some piece of tarp, noticing some fishing gears here and there, but nothing that much other than that. So as you can see on the picture, the ocean seems to be pure blue, beautiful ocean, like a family vacation. So it's there. My second contact with that problematic happened, day 6, and you will understand soon. So we were using the spinnaker pole to deploy our Manta trawl, and we call that a Manta trawl because that device is similar to a manta ray. And the idea is to set that device right at the surface, so when the boat is moving, it kind of catch everything there. So you don't want to have the device to skip, to be out of the water, but not too deep as well. So we wanted really to sample that really first layer of water there. So I will play a really short video so you might be able to see how we were deploying the manta trawl, sorry. So you can see that we have a second rope, a leash, and that will be useful to pull out of the water. So we were just dropping the manta trawl in the water, slowing down the boat. So sometimes we needed to put the Yankee and the staysail down using only the main, or depending of the wind. So the idea was to slow down the boat about 2 knots. Just to be able to, that was the way to stabilize the device. And we were sampling about 30 minutes using a GPS, of course. So we knew our speed, we knew our position. So we were able to have kind of a transect the distance that we were sampling. So after that 30 minutes, we were pulling out the manta trawl with the turquoise rope that you can see there. After that, we were removing the cod hen, which I can call it maybe the tail. So all the samples were collecting in the tail there. And then the next step was to empty that net into a series of filters. So 3 sizes of filter there to categorize the size of the fragments. So I told you about the North Pacific garbage patch, and you might have seen picture in the media of how there's rubbish, there's trash, the garbage. Some people mention that we can almost walk on that island, that we might see penguins out there waiting for us and waving at us when we'll be passing by. But it is really, really different when when you got right in the middle of that spot where it's not that much people who have been the experience to go there. So after emptying the tail of our device, our job was to categorize, to really separate the content of each filter and put it in a small bottle. And we were using teaser, just make sure that we get every part, every small plastic things, fibers were taking out, and they were putting in different bottles here. So we knew exactly what was in each filter. After that, another big job was to count how many fragments were on each bottles. So we were categorizing fibers and original plastic pellets, which is plastic that is used by the industry to build any plastic items. So from what I've mentioned to you, you might have a question, but how do we get to small plastic pieces like this, what we call fragment? So this is what we call microplastic. This is particle um, under the size of 5 millimeters in diameter. And what happened is that the biggest part or the big plastic item that reach out in the water and they go with the current, the radiation, the DUV, just break down the plastic. So the chemicals is kind of breaking down. And I choose breaking down because it's not like composting, it's not degrading, it just cutting down, breaking down, releasing by this cut some chemicals to the water, attracting some of those chemicals already in the water, maybe also attracting some marine life, a small marine life. So there is a kind of a big interaction after that with the nature, with the ecosystem, which is maybe the marine life or maybe the water itself. So this is what we were looking like. We've been able to deploy the drone only one day, and we were using the engine that day. So the boat was finally level, steady. And then I ran to take a hot shower that day because I didn't take a lot of shower because I was too sick. So when the boat was level, it was the perfect moment. And because the engine was on, we had warm water or hot water. So I remember that moment, and you can see that the spinnaker pole is right there. The little every rope to be able to deploy it, and the leash to take back our trawl. So we were sampling because we skip a couple of days. We were sampling twice a day, every day after that, to catch up a little bit on the day that we have not been able to sample. So here it is, our worst sample ever collected by exxpedition. This is just the top filter, but when we count all the 3 filters all together, unfortunately it's not on the picture, but that worst sample that we took right in the middle of the gyre, the count was 507 pieces of plastic. The size of confetti as well, or even smaller. So imagine that. Let's summarize the situation. We were sailing for 30 minutes, around 2 knots per mile. So we have done 1 mile. So during 1 mile, on a width, maybe, I don't remember the precise width of the mouth of our trawl, but maybe 40, 50 centimeter width. For 1 mile, we got 507 pieces. So that means that in the ocean, there is millions, trillions of fragments of that size, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. So I mentioned that when it's breakdowns, it releases some chemicals, But I have a shocking new information to share with you. It's that it had been published in August 2018 by a lovely lady. She's a Quebecer that I met in Hawaii. Her and her team have found that the plastic, when it breaks down, releases some greenhouse gases, methane and ethylene, and those are more dangerous, or they are more responsible of climate change than the CO2. So, and one of the plastic that released mostly of those gases are the LDPE that is widely used. So we have a big problem because we know that those fragments are interacting with marine life. Now we know that it's involved in the greenhouse gases, knowing to be responsible for the climate change. So this is what when expedition tend to do, collecting all those samples, giving them to partner university organization who have the equipment, the knowledge, the scientists to to look further of what it can cause and where also that plastic is coming. But because when we can categorize the plastic, when we know where it comes from, it can be easier to point out or to focus on some solutions. And it's not a made up story. This really happened in real time, believe me. Right after that, we took a worst sample of all the existence of expedition. We had a beautiful visit of about 50 dolphins. So right where we can almost pass our hands in water and get some plastic particle, we met for the first time animals. And other things that we were doing to collect more data about that specific area in the ocean was to daily monitoring of marine debris. On an angle of 60 degrees, one person every day was sitting exactly at the same place, counting the big debris that we were seeing. Piece of ropes, piece of net, crates from fishing. We saw a lot of big debris, but smaller debris that we can identify to someone else. I mean, for example, I will show you a small video in a moment, and one of the ladies said that she saw a toothbrush passing by the boat. So it means that this plastic have been used by a human, and we can almost relate that, oh, I have the same toothbrush. Maybe it's mine. So we were doing this as well. We were taking picture of that. We were sharing that with social media, especially on Instagram and Facebook. So in real time, informing the public of what was going on the ocean. We also spotted the massive balls of ghost nets, and we had the contract, let's say that, to install a tracking device at one point. So we were waiting for a piece, a big chunk of something to attach it. So at that one moment, we tried to pull this on board, but it was really too heavy. So Emily Penn jumped in the water. The skipper called my name, say, Karine, you are on shark watch. Oh, okay. And because that can attract other fish and stuff like this, because that was really big. So that was a dangerous possibility that sharks can be there. So we have done that, working with the NASA, which is fun to mention. And this is a more realistic way of what the life, because all the picture I show you from now, that was boat steady, blue water, sunny day. But in fact, we got, I will say, between 25 and 30 knots of wind all the time. So we were sailing on an angle all the time. So this is a more realistic selfie picture of my life there. We got wet, of course. And during the night, most of the time we were sailing with the wind, but past the middle of the gyre, we started to use more the compass to make it on time to Vancouver. And because some media were also waiting for us at a specific day, so it was important to arrive at Vancouver on time. So we were using the compass mostly past the trip, I will say, from my souvenir. So it was cold during night. Believe me, it was really cold during night. So also here a more realistic view of our life there. You can see my face almost looking depressed, or let's say exhausted, because we never had spare time. When we were not on watch, we were sampling. And if we were not on watch as we were sampling, we were doing the maneuver for this to deploy the device, the sampling device. And another job was to write some article, write some blog, take some picture, do small video, kind of recording as much of our experience to share it with the public on social media. So that was quite intense. Here at the back, you can see that we were also sampling air with an empty bucket. So we were kidding a little bit. So we were emptying an empty bucket. So we were cleaning up the content of the bucket just to sample the air. So that was one protocol from one organization, one university. I will show you a quick video when the worst moment when the sea was a little bit rough. So I mentioned that an ocean crossing was one of my fear. I was afraid, to be really honest with you, to cross an ocean, knowing that a lot of things can happen, even eating a container and stuff like this. So I'm really proud because I've never been afraid, not even once. Everything was really calm on board. And this particular day, I was on watch starting at 4 a.m. in the morning. So it's about 4:30 as I'm taking that video. And it's really, the light is more shiny than usually at that time of the day. It's because we didn't change our time zone from Hawaii, because that was affecting a lot the rotation and the watch. So we were waiting to be closer to Vancouver to change our time zone. So it's probably more like 6 o'clock now there. But on my biology, on my physical body, it's 4 a.m., no coffee, nothing, no breakfast. And I'm next to helm. So that day we were passing between two tropical storms. We were almost arriving to Vancouver. And the day before, the skipper mentioned that, okay, you need to pack everything, no objects that are not attached. And I had to go, so she asked for a volunteer to install a new sail on the deck. So from my sailing experience, I knew that it was a storm jib. So I went there, and one splash, I was wet completely. And they were not really alarming us that, okay, big winds coming. No, nothing so far that we have seen. So that we were really like, okay, like eating candies and no worries at all. So I was really impressed by that attitude of no stress at all. We're just passing between two tropical storms. Life is good, no worries, no. And every time we were kind of worried, especially during the night, we were like, oh my God, water is coming on deck. Okay, just call Imo, which is the skipper. And we were waking up her, and she was coming on deck, looking at the sail with her flashlight. No, she's happy. We don't have to take the Yankee down. She's happy. And we're like, oh my God, helming like this and fighting almost with the boat. But the skipper was, no, she's happy. So that was a sense of feeling really confident. So even that day, where we were just we were having the you can see the red or the orange yellow part there has showing that this is a stronger wind. We were just ahead of that. The swell was not too big, just past 3 meters, calling maybe for something similar later during the day. So I will show you a little other video that I won't show you completely. I will try to bring it forward at some point. I don't know why the picture is still there. Let me just see. Okay. Oh no, it's just the one that I showed you before. Sorry. So this is the one that I want to show you. So you can see that we are still sailing, even if that day we got at that moment, we got 42 knots. And let's bring that before that. So 3 reef in the main, the Yankee is up because the stay is down because the jib, the stern jib is on deck right now, but we cannot see it. And if you look at, so this is Emily, she had been sailing only once before that, and she's an expert helming at 42 knots. So we were so much trusted. So in the video, if we look a little bit, I think I will zoom later. I would just bring you right there. So you can see that we got 37 knots now. So Emily is doing an amazing job. It's not it's not an experienced sailor, but we are okay. The skipper is sleeping right now, no problem. And we got after that 42 knots just after that. So why I wanted to show you that, it's even someone like me, kind of a little bit afraid of being on an ocean. I've never been afraid, not even at that moment at 4 a.m. Just waking, just being awake, no coffee, nothing. And I remember coming out of the companionway there and just seeing a wall of water. And I've just been impressed, not afraid at all, which is for me a check on on my list, a big one. So this is the route that we have done. I will let you enjoy a small video, a live video that we have done when we were on at sea. Sorry, I lose the arrow. Okay.
We've been sailing through the North Pacific Giant for 7 days, and we can't believe what we've seen. Plastic bottles, dishwashers, plastic bags, buckets, barrels, a lot of rope, more pieces of rope, nylon rope, a constant stream of small bits of plastic, a cigarette lighter, fishing crates, microplastics. We saw one huge fishing net tied up together, seeing these beautiful dolphins, and then chunks of plastic next to them. It's the sheer amount of pieces. It's literally a plastic suit, large plastic lids for containers, a washing basket, half a toilet seat. We saw a chair with all 4 legs. All these items once belonged to someone, and they definitely don't belong in the ocean.
So that was the type of a small clip that we were doing to raise awareness. So let's summarize what we know about microplastic before we jump on solution. So marine life it's a threat for marine life. Birds and fishes eat plastic items. Animals get entangled, and I will pass on picture on that. It's also a human health threat. As plastic breakdowns, it releases or attracts some chemicals, and there is a contamination for the food chain, and there is also contamination of the water and air, like I mentioned. This is also a global warming threat. I mentioned that Royer and all have discovered that there is a release of methane and ethylene, which are the greenhouse gases. So there is recent studies that shown that the microplastic particles are being consumed every day. It's in our food, so we eat it, we drink it, and we breathe it every day. Small amount, really, really small amount, but still it's in our body. So I will pass fast on that I think you have seen that, I'm probably sure. So what's the problem with those debris, especially plastic bag? Could be mask. Now I've seen some drying with mask as well. So the animals, they just confuse that with food. We got the visit of an albatross, which is really fantastic moment. So we were almost like the water is flat. So for sure we are in the middle of the gyre on that picture. So that picture had been taken by Eleanor Church, which was a photographer on our crew. So this is a picture taken by someone on of the crew. And we know now that the albatross go further in the ocean to pick up the food and to bring it to his babies, for example. And we know now the albatross, they eat that, they confuse that with food, and they finish by dying because they starve. I will just pass fast because the picture is not really fun to see. But the problem with that is that finally all the species, they can die because they starve. They cannot really after that feed properly. So now, what can we do? We need to stop the plastic at the source, because 50% of the plastic that we use is only we use it only in an average of 12 minutes. So we are thinking about something that will really not degrade easily. We don't really know how long it will take for plastic to completely degrade or compose, use whatever the words you want, because it's been around 60, 70 years that we use that substance. And we can predict, but we are not fully accurate how long it will take for those chemicals to completely disappear. Could be hundreds of years, could be could be close to thousand years. So knowing that we use something for 12 minutes that will stay on Earth for hundreds of years, it's not making that much sense. But some people will say, oh, I do recycling. I do recycle, so I don't need to take care of that because my plastic will be reused, reused, reused. But it's not really true because 91% of the plastic isn't recycled. We can think of a lot of countries that they don't have the facilities, they don't have the system to collect garbage. And so people are forced to put their garbage in the stream. And when the rain comes, everything is flushed away. And so this is for trash, but there is also a lot of countries don't have a proper recycling system. And I cannot really say that here in Ontario, we have a perfect system too. Myself, I'm really often debating, should I put that to trash or this is something that can go in the recycle bin? It's not so clear what could be put there or not. And when we put food grade plastic with other plastic, we lose the good quality of that plastic. So the plastic is just losing its quality. So the best waste is the waste that has never existed. So we'll try to shift our mind here slowly. So there's also a lot of items that are almost impossible to recycle. Sticky notes because of the glue, a toothpaste tube made of different type of plastic, maybe containing still a lot of toothpaste inside, receipt because of the bisphenol A that is used on thermal receipt, a chip bag made from aluminum in the inside, 2 or 3 different type of plastic on the outside, make it really too complicated to be recycled. And you can maybe say, okay, but all of those items, all those fragments that I've shown you on some picture, they are coming from where? So there is that the plastic item, like what we call the single use, that might escape from the landfill or might escape of our collecting system. Let's think about our small blue box. They are open and the wind is happy to play with them. So it's often, I will say, some object flying away on a recycling day. So sometimes I'm looking at the weather before putting my bin to by the street. Another fact that I've learned since I crossed the ocean is the synthetic clothes. So they release small fibers every time we wear them, but when we wash them, even more. And I can talk about the fast fashion tendency as well, but I won't go there. You understand that that might be a big impact as well. Our car tires release some plastic in the street, and when the rain washed the street, it washed away a lot of plastic as well. And this is really important, this. Some personal care and beauty products contain glitters and microbeads. Microbeads are supposed to be banned in Canada, but recently I've seen some even at I don't want to name it any store, but I've seen some product. There's still some out there. Glitter for sure, or this everyone or no one knows about that. I'm probably sure that no one's know about all this is a problem. The fishing industry, the net, the ropes, the crates, they all fall in the water. The original plastic pellets can be washed by industry when they wash their installation. And also paint. All type of paint is also a huge problem, a huge contributor to plastic in the water and eventually into the ocean. So let's talk a bit more about our clothes. This is something that we can shift more easily than some others. So first of all, maybe we can only wash our clothes when they really need it, not every time we wear them. So I'm talking about this to my kids, you can't believe it. Another thing, it's buy less and buy more durable fabric, like organic, or not necessarily organic, but more natural. Let's think first natural fabric. Then if you master this, you can shift slowly to organic fabric. But let's say linen, cotton, wool are excellent choices instead of acrylic, polyester, and nylon. Sorry about that. I'm a yoga instructor, so I like my polyester yoga pant, but I tend to use them to keep them in a good shape so they release less, or try to wash them not so often. Also, we can use a different way our machine our washing machine. So it's written gentle wash, but I've learned recently that the gentle wash cycle sometimes use more water and let to sit the clothes longer in that water, and that might contribute to release fiber more. So I think the more important thing will be to lower the spin. If you're able to choose a lower spin cycle, that might be better. So less soap, cold water, low spin cycle might be a nice way to avoid the release of fibers. And another thing is to install filter on your washing machine if you want, if you're willing to do that. But still, it means that we are still producing those fibers. It's just that we are able to catch them, put it in the trash bin instead of releasing it in the water. But I like to think about this as a solution, but I like to think about why not using some clothes that won't product those trash in the first thing. But if you already own a lot of clothes made of synthetic, for sure, don't put them to the trash and go buy new clothes. The idea is to use already what you have, wash it carefully, maybe also using a filter. And when you due to buy a new piece of clothes, choose a natural fabric one. So there's all a level of solution, and there is no unique solution. There is as much solution as there is use of plastic. So what we call single-use plastic, you might have heard that a lot. So it's the single coffee cup, it's a plastic bag, the water bottle, the straw, every disposal food packaging. So I realized when I was putting more attention to plastic that it's in my kitchen and in my bathroom that I use the more plastic. Everything is kind of wrapped in plastic. So I realized that, okay, that might be where I need to address and change some habits there first. And because we can clean river stream banks to protect the ocean, protect our water quality, but that alone won't do the job. You might have heard about 4Ocean or the ocean cleanup, that they are up to cleaning the water, but thinking of cleaning might not be the best way to see it. It's nice to catch what is flying away, or it's nice to catch what can still be catching out there, but maybe avoiding single-use plastic. That's the way we need to change our consumption, or change our mind, in fact. So I invite you to slowly make your way there to become maybe a wiser consumer, I like to call. So maybe you don't have the time like me to do your yogurt on Sunday. I do my own yogurt. I pour it in some glass jar like this, ready for 2 days, because we are sick. So we are running out of it fast. But I like to do whatever I can. So I cook my own bread. I do my own yogurt. But maybe this is not where you need to start. Maybe this is for you. It would just feel like, okay, if it's the way to solve the plastic crisis, I'm out of it. So everyone needs to find its first step in that process. And I like to say that when we master a new habit, it's time to shift and maybe let's be ready and open-minded to a new habits. So first, become a wise consumer, like I said. So think about where you are using plastic and slowly try to change one habit at a time. Maybe you are now good at bringing your own shopping bag, but maybe it's your reusable water bottle that you tend to forget, or you don't have a good quality one, so it's more complicated, you don't like it. So I suggest buy a good water bottle, a reusable, good quality water bottle made of metal that you will use over and over and over and over. And you will like it so much that you will always have it with you. Same thing with bring your own coffee mug. Maybe if you go to takeout, why not taking containers with you? I know sometimes we'll feel a little bit ashamed to ask, oh, can you put my food in those containers? But if more people are doing it, the more people working in those stores will be comfortable doing that, and it would become a new normal. Maybe say no to disposal straws and cutlery, maybe having your own with you when it's possible. Also having little produce bags. So as you can see on the right picture, if you are, when you are shopping, you can transition to having with you all the time. I like to carry some small vegetable bag or food bag in my bigger bags, grocery bag. So I have, it's all my kit, it's always by my door, and every time I go out to a store, I always have that kit with me. It's effortless because it's all prepared, gathered together. I always have this with me. So I like to, and I really take the habit of that. And it's, for me now, I don't have to think about it. It's a new normal. So it's no effort, no brain effort. So I like to use them for my vegetable. When they get dirty, I just wash them. And so there is a lot of option like this. Another area, like I mentioned, where we use a lot of plastic, it's in the bathroom. So you can switch to a wooden toothbrush. Maybe you can switch to a different type of a razor. My husband owned that type of razor for many, many, many years, and he loves it so much. So he just has to replace the blade. Costs almost nothing. I think it's less than 10 cents per blade, and super efficient. And it lasts forever. It's a good quality one that you will keep for your whole life. Maybe you're not ready to transition to a shampoo bar instead of using a bottle. So there is option, there is a degree or level of transition. So for example, on the right picture, you can see that someone who bought a good quality refillable bottle with the metal pump. So maybe you have the time to go to a store when you can refill your shampoo, or if you're ready to go a little bit further and try a shampoo bar, here you have no plastic at all. For me, shampoo bar works really well. I think I can buy a couple at all at the same time, store it. It's effortless because I have always a few ahead of me. I don't have to think about it to buy it. It don't take a lot of storage room, so I really like this option. If you're running out of idea, this is maybe a place where you can start. Or maybe it's not where you will start. Maybe you will continue to look over your habits in the bathroom, and you will say, oh, maybe I will try a toothpaste tablet instead of using a toothpaste tubes. So there is more and more and more solution like this coming in different type of store. Some people will say, oh, doing maybe homemade product might be easier for me, might be also cheaper to do that. So you can do your homemade deodorant, homemade cleaning product, homemade mouthwash, homemade, name it, I will say. So that could be also another option. I really like to do it also because when you got a good recipe and with only a few ingredients, it's really fast. For me, it's faster than taking my car, going to a shopper drug mart, let's say, and buy what I need. I really like to buy some ingredient and I can use it for many use. For me, it's effortless and cheaper. So there is many way to be out of plastic. You just have to transition slowly, one step at a time. And we don't have to be perfect all the time. It's kind of a combination. So someday it's easier to do it and to take our new habits. Someday it could be impossible, but we don't have to blame ourselves about that. So we do our best every day. But at the end, if everyone is doing that, we'll finally be able to check a little bit more on the sustainable checklist here. For example, buying food in bulk, if it's possible. If everyone is asking for that, more store will open and it will be easier. And every time you are also using, let's say, a greener way to store your food, you're also doing a great thing for yourself, because every time the food and acidic and fat or fatty food are in contact with plastic, it leach, or the plastic or the chemicals in the plastic can migrate or leach into your food. So every time you're reusing an old jar, like a confiture with a jam, sorry, I was talking in French. When you're using an old jam jar to put your leftover from your dinner, you're saving yourself also of eating a bit of plastic. So I like to keep that as a motivation. Every time you're able to switch to something avoiding plastic, you might be also helping your own health. And that motivation pay a lot. And you can see me here at a different moment on Lake Ontario catching balloons. So I'm wondering, do we still need to use those balloons? Because I'm catching them almost every time that I go out on the lake with my family, and we are practicing our man overboard maneuver every time, and we are getting really good to not slow down that much the boat to catch those balloons. So I have a challenge for you. How many balloons can you catch this sailing season? And I will find a way that you can share that information with me and try to beat the OIS, because the OIS doesn't know now, but I will challenge them as well as a member of the OIS. I would like to challenge every sailors to catch a lot of balloons today and share your picture with people so they will stop using those balloons. So I will wrap up my presentation to let you know that after a little almost 3,000 nautical miles, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen all the plastic out there, but when we are looking at the water, we really don't see the level or the degree of the problematic itself. So we need to change our perspective about plastic, and we need, if you are good or if you have any political leverage, I implore you to be active on that way. And maybe we need to have a better legislation. We need to enhance the efficiency of our recycling system. We need also more education about how to do a good recycled. Maybe we need also to work at the industrial level and having more circular economy, where we reuse over and over the same ingredient or the same material, and we don't lose the quality of the products that we are using, because plastic has really good quality for a lot of items, but it's when it gets contaminated and it's get in the nature that it's a problem. Let's keep that and closing the loop and reusing all the time the same plastic. And as a consumer, we can think about every use of plastic. I like to think as its own solution. So there is a Shift platform built by co-founder Emily Penn. So there is a Shift.how. This is a platform where you can find many different solutions, but also some product, for example, a seaweed packaging on something, etc. So all that smart spirit, what they are developing, there is a lot of solution out there. So I invite you to be a critical thinker. Think about every time you're taking something where there is plastic, think about what will be after you will be done with that item, what it will become. Do you really need it? And don't buy any type of solution like the biodegradable plastic. I don't really like that idea, because they are made from corn. And as a past former agronome, this is the word in French, I think in English we say agrologist, I can assure you that corn, it's not necessarily the best solution. So I invite you to change one habit at a time. And when you master that new habit, let's open your mind and maybe introduce a new habit. So I want to do a warm thank you to the photo credit of my sister has been able to share with me a lot of the beautiful picture in the presentation. And I would like to thank the OIS and Paper Fiber for their generous financial contribution to the funding of my expedition. And thank you to all of you being really patient to hear me that long. I just saw how long I've been spoken. So sorry. I would just stop the presentation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, just going to show you how to make your comments. If you have a question or a comment, just please click on raise your virtual hand and we'll take them on order. I just had one comment is I was at a presentation discussing the expedition around Great Britain and there were some storms, so you didn't miss much there. They had to change their course because of the storms through the Irish Sea. So do we have any questions? Please raise your virtual hand. Okay. Anybody has anything what they want to say or ask a question? Yeah, Ron Jenkins, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
Ron?
wondering, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So I'm wondering if maybe, you know, places like Shoppers Drug Mart might cooperate to the degree of putting an area in their store where they might sell plastic-free solutions for soaps, toothpaste, things that people routinely buy, so that they don't need to hunt through the whole store to find them. You know, the way that food stores now have an organic food section, you might have a plastic-free section in a place.
I really like that idea. And I think the more consumers are asking for new products, the more the store will be willing to sell them, because if they sell, they will have profit on them. So they will be happy to add this to their shelf.
Yeah, it just make it easier for consumers to find the plastic-free products.
Yeah, I invite everyone to ask their local store where you used to buy your shampoo. For example, if you're willing to try a shampoo bar, ask the manager if it can be had and let's see the responses if people are buying it. Or sometimes, you know, they put those stuff in the little corner, no one is seeing it. So there's a little bit of promotion as well that needs to be done, and some education as well. But the more we know, I think the more we are willing to change our habits, and that I think we're just about to see a big change.
Thank you.
Julia, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question or comment.
Congratulations, Karine. I'm so pleased to meet you. You sound like a mini me. I've been doing this kind of work for years. And on our website, ihtec.org, we have a Marine Peace Parks program as part of the International School Peace Gardens program. And one of the things that I did was write a to-do list for schools to do with the ocean, because I met Captain Charles Moore. I presume you've heard him speak, maybe. Did you meet him in Hawaii or in Vancouver?
No, and
No?
I just want to say, for everyone who don't really know him, is the first one who has sampled, the first one noticing plastic in the water.
That's correct. And his book, Plastic Ocean, is really worth reading. And the thing that Katrine didn't really get to see is that they were diving down 3 meters into the ocean in that Gaia. And what they found all the way down, there were layers and layers of different breakdown of the plastics. And on the ground, on the bottom of the ocean, all of the bottles had insects or shrimp or someone living in them. You know, the bottle tops, there was a creature sitting in the bottle top. So it's much worse than you saw, dear, much, much worse. And I have 20 schools in Hawaii who've been cleaning up those beaches. And of course, a lot of the material came from the tsunami over in Japan, and it's still coming over from there. 3 feet, Mickey Tomita is one of our team members, and she took a whole class of kids from one of the schools over to the island that was used during the war with the military, and it was 3 feet deep on the beaches of plastic. So a lot of the schools I've been working with are doing this cleanup all the time. So you'll be glad to know that. Also, how many of our team have a sewing machine in their house? I make my own shopping bag. Good, good. Two, I can see there's one down there, Margot. I make my own clothes for the summer in cotton. I crochet with wool, not acrylic, as much as I can. And I make my own dresses, and I make shopping bags. Now that could be quite a good project for me because they're not too difficult. If anyone would like to buy them and make a donation to Shellbacks, maybe Diane and I could get on and make some shopping bags. They're fully lined and they're washable. Anyway, there you go. That's my contribution, and well done, lady.
Thank you for your generous comment and adding more information. I really like this. Yes, Hawaiian people are really aware of the situation. There is so many organizations cleaning up. When we have done the beach cleanup, we had joined a really involved organization called Coastline Hawaiian Sustainable. I think I misplaced the order of the name, but something like this, and they were amazing. And just to go to add on your sewing machine, it can also be helpful just to repair stuff. We don't have to buy. Yeah. And I repair my sails as well, and I repair my clothes from my kids and everything. So even the backpack, and if they have a jacket and the zipper is getting hold or whatsoever, I fix everything. So it's a really handy and let's say eco-friendly tool to have.
Yeah, up at Dreamland Resort where we are in the summer, up near Peterborough, I also mend people's gazebo that have torn, and I mend people's tents that they've got to tear from the wind. Yeah. A sewing machine is a must-have for the new society, which we're now developing, right? Over to whoever's next. Thanks, Graham.
Okay, next is Judy. Go ahead. And mute yourself and ask your question. Judy?
Yeah, sorry, it was being reluctant to unmute. Okay. Just a couple of first of all, thank you very much, Karine. A couple of comments, suggestions, whatever. I agree about the small produce bags. They're crucial for things like green beans or Brussels sprouts, things that come in small items. But there's no need to stick 6 potatoes into a bag before you take them to the checkout. The ladies at the checkout have no problem running through 6 loose potatoes that you then put in your shopping bag, and it's that much less garbage. The other, but for those of us, I live up sort of north shore of Lake Huron, Elliott Lake, and for those of us who aren't actually right on the coast, even of the Great Lakes, or who are but are doing things inland, as well as the reducing what I've got myself, every time I go out hiking, I've got a cloth bag slung over my shoulder, admittedly with a plastic bag from the grocery store inside because I need to package up stuff I'm collecting. And every hike, I usually end up with a full bag's worth of trash that I've picked up from the trails, which gets tied off and put into our garbage dump. It's still going into the system, but at least it's going into the ecosystem in a controlled area rather than loose and scattered all over the place. And I'm busy encouraging other people in my hiking group to do it and making the carrier bags that they can sling over their shoulders for when they're out hiking. Another use for those recyclable bags is carry one along, but on the assumption that you want to keep the bag, it's probably a good idea to have it lined with something, because it's amazing how horrible the trash people drop off it. The thing that really bugs me is the tied off plastic bags of dog dirt. People have picked up after their dog, put it in a plastic bag, and then tossed it into the bush. You're going to leave it in the bush, don't put it in the plastic bag first. Anyway, thank you again, Karine.
Thank you. I totally, I really love what you mentioned, because as you're picking up some trash, I think you're encouraging also some other people. So it's like you're you're yourself or you are an ambassador, let's say that you're educating people at the same time, and it's just the way to change the society, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that I am going to make a huge impact, but I'm cleaning up our trails one trash bag's worth at a time.
Okay.
Good.
I thank, next, Jim, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself.
Where are you?
Thank you for an absolutely marvelous talk. I wear only cotton clothes because ever since my student days, I have thought that dry cleaners were a waste of money. And your comments on synthetic fabrics was quite interesting. I also would like to comment that I have never seen toothpaste tablets. So I suggest, and going to the dentist, that you tell them that they should have toothpaste tablets and also the disposable compostable toothbrushes that they always hand out when they do their toothpaste, do the teeth cleaning. The other comment is to tell the grocery stores that particularly the beverage regions, should amalgamate their non-plastic containers of the beverages, and also the other products in the grocery stores. So creating more public awareness is a big plus in doing this. And so all the other containers, one thing that I have been curious about is why the black plastic food containers cannot be recycled. And I would like to see more analysis of the recycled products that go in. And there could be two classes of the recycling bins rather than just the blue bin. So thank you again for a marvelous talk and public awareness.
Thank you for your kind comment. I like also what you just mentioned. So the toothpaste tablets are hard to find. I acknowledge that. I prefer to do mine. It's just a few ingredients and you just do it, and you can just store it in a small mason jar, really small, like an individual one for everyone in the family. So no contamination, or you can find your own and unique way to manage that. But for me, it's what work. It's easier for me just to mix a little batch of some ingredient, and when I'm running out of it, I'm just doing it again. And it's cheaper as well. But asking your dentist could be great as well. My husband had an appointment for cleaning yesterday. He came back, with the little bag when they give you a toothbrush and all those useless stuff, I will say, and it wasn't made of paper. I was really happy. But myself, every time I go to the dentist, I refuse that plastic toothbrush. I refuse that plastic flossing, and I refuse the plastic bag for sure. So, but if you think about all the plastic that they use to cover the lights, cover the instrument, everything, dentists are probably one of the worst about plastic consumption in general.
And
So
hospitals are
that
terrible.
idea of asking maybe I don't know if they are allowed to sell stuff at the dentist. I'm not sure if they are allowed to do that. Maybe that's another debate, but that's a good point. And what you mentioned after, I'm kind of, maybe I'm a little bit tired. I mentioned the second part of your question or your comments. Can you just remind me what was the second part?
Telling grocery stores to
Yes, the beverage industry. Thank you. So one of the major sponsor of Expedition was Tomra. Tomra built a machine that you just put your plastic, and there's a laser scanning what type of plastic it is. They crush it and they separate it. So in Europe, in Quebec, still they have that type of machine. Maybe in Toronto, this is coming because my colleague from who is from Norway, she was in discussion to bring some machine in some grocery store in Toronto. but maybe we can ask for having that Tomura technology, and you're getting paid when you put your beverage container in this machine. So it's kind of doing the categorization, and you got paid after that. And if it's not you who is willing to bring that to the store, put that in the machine because you think that it's not worth it, but maybe it's someone else who will pick it up in the trail and will bring it. So when there is a value to the plastic, there's always someone that will be willing to take care of it. So having that little 5 cents or maybe 10 cents to every beverage container will work like a charm. I just don't know why we are not there yet. So I just implore you, if you have any political leverage, contact, or you're good at representation, I'm not good at it, but if you have that skill, that superpower, please implore our decision maker to have those kind of machine, or maybe separate because like you mentioned, doing 2 bins, people are, if I look at my neighbors, they buy a big TV and they put the big box right beside their bin, and there is the styrofoam padding inside the cardboard box. So if I look at my neighbor, they put running shoes in their bin. So people don't get the idea that if it's made of more than one material, it cannot be recycling, because the people there, they don't have the time to dismantle everything and to categorize the plastic. So I'm not sure if it's at the consumer level that we are able to do the discrimination of the plastic type, but maybe at the grocery store, that with a machine like Tomura could be a good idea.
I compliment you on the suggestion of grocery stores, because in the States I have seen bottle return machines.
Okay.
And here in Canada we could have recycling deposits of the non-recyclable stuff that could be ground. And
Yeah.
I also remember my aunt used to always brush her teeth with baking soda and salt. And I
Here we
thought,
are.
here we are again.
Okay.
Thank you again. Marvelous talk.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have time for 3 more questions before I turn it back over to Diane. Margot, go ahead.
Two points, Karine. One, you said that you didn't go below to have a shower, but the one time, were you hot bunking it, or did you have your own bunk?
Oh,
Who did you sleep with? Did you share the berth?
No, we had individual birth. What is your question? I'm not sure if
I just wondered if you had, how many did you have to share it on different watches? How many people were sharing your bed, as it were, if you weren't showering?
Oh no, we had our own, the boat can accommodate 15%. So we
Okay.
had our own berth. And when I mentioned that, I think I took 4 real showers during the course of our passage, but only one with hot, really, warm, hot, good water. Yes. But I could have been smarter and learning faster that when the generator was on, oh my God, it means that there is hot water. But I just didn't pay attention to that before. And I'm not sure if the other ladies noticed it, or it was quite a secret if it was, because no one was talking about it. But you know what? Otherwise, I was doing a cat wash, and that was doing the job.
Okay. The other point I was going to just make, every time I see how many inoculations for the vaccine given, I think of all that plastic. When I trained, we had to wash, I would use glass syringes, we had to wash them and sharpen the needles, which I hated. However, when I see millions and millions of aliquots of a vaccine given, I know we need the vaccine, but there's an awful lot of plastic in that waste.
I know, and that stressed me out so much. That stressed me out so much. And it's like, if there is not that much people aware of that, like all those masks, I have to wear a surgical mask at work now. It's mandatory. I cannot use the one that I made with my sewing machine. So I'm not allowed to do that when I'm teaching. And I have to put also a visor in plastic. And we have to change that plastic because it gets all blurry. And I have the same one since the beginning of September, and it's helpful. I can almost no more see through it because I refuse to put it to the garbage. But yes, it's a major problem, and I don't know how to solve that.
Yeah, thank you. Good speech.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Seamus.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Karine, and my compliments on how I say it in English. Your speech, your prepared presentation for me is not only most inspirational, but extremely educational, if I can put it to you that way. And I wish you every continued success with your broadcasting these messages. I learned things today that I should have been more aware of, and for that I thank you. I'll be very brief. I know time is nearly up. I go fishing sometimes, and I have hauled in what I thought was a fish, but running shoes and things like that. My point is that so often it's very hard to find a shoemaker who can repair shoes, and I think it was our fellow member Mar, forgive me for getting the first name, she mentioned about sewing machines, and it made me think. I was talking to a shoemaker about 2 years ago, and he said, look, I can't wait to retire. I don't get enough business. I enjoy what I do, but this thing has made me aware of the need for sewing machines in society. What I'm getting at is, I think with increased awareness, maybe in our sort of new economic society, it will bring back long dormant skills that could be revived to the benefit of everybody and provide people with opportunity for developing skills, for opening business like repairing shoes, etc., etc. So I'll conclude by saying that you've made me very aware that we live in a disposable society and we can't keep going on like this. It's totally disrespectful. We only have one environment, and we better love it more. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I will just quickly add about the shoes. There is, for example, Adidas and Parley have partnered to do running shoes made out of the plastic from the ocean, but they are $200. But what we can also do, if we can force the industry, let's say Nike, who produce a lot of shoes, to take back what they have sold, and then tearing out all the lacet and the insole and whatsoever it is, and try to make new material, because it is all synthetic anyway. And then from that, it should be mandatory to build new shoes about the old shoes, if you know what I mean. And this is what we call the circular economy that I tried briefly to explain. So we need to encourage those business, even if at the beginning this is more expensive. Like say the Parsley and Adidas shoes are quite a lot of money. I was privileged to get a pair when I step on Sea Dragons. That was one of a partner, a little gift to say hi. One of the only things that we got for free. And so there is stuff like this coming, and if you know people who have a good idea about it, encourage them to start a business.
Okay, one last question before I turn it over to Diane for wrap up. Julia, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to do it twice, but first of all, the Lake Ontario has the highest level of small bits of plastic in the Great Lakes. I met the woman who's researching it from United States. The second is, I agree with your hospital, but my research team did a presentation at the Mississauga Council through the Environmental Committee, and we wrote a letter to Mayor Hazel McCallion, who sent the letter to the MP, her letter, to all of the key people. So all of the federal bodies that use plastic in the government, to the local MP and MPP, and we need to get our current mayor to do it again if you live in Mississauga or in Toronto as a major push. So that's something we can all do. Thank you for listening.
Okay, now I'll turn it over to Diane to wrap it up. Go ahead, Diane.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Karine. That was an amazing presentation. Review in many, many ways for me. small steps may lead to a ripple. So your suggestions for any small step, and I would suggest that one of them might be when you go into the drugstore asking where the plastic-free section is, just to assume that they should have it, and why don't you have it here? So recognizing that anything that we do, any small thing that we do is important. Secondly, some of you may be aware that Toronto usually has a clean up the beaches in the spring. So there's something that you can do to volunteer to clean up the plastics on the beaches every spring and in the bushes along the beaches. And I also wanted to ask, the shift.how, does that contain little recipes as you were talking about, the recipes for?
No, I don't believe it's going that far. They're promoting new item, new products, small alternative that switching to doing your own product. But I have not been there recently because I have my own habits and I don't really.
I mean, do you have a website where you put some of your recipes up on?
No, I should, but I bought, but it's a French book. I bought a French book about some 3 ladies who started a zero waste store in Montreal, and they have done a beautiful book to summarize, and they call them witch because they all mix ingredient and they do finally it's just old-fashioned way to live, but they brought that to modern life, I would say, and it's where I found the more of my my little, and I
send me
as
the
a,
name of that book and I will.
okay, perfect. And maybe soon it will be translated, or if you need translation, maybe I can help with that. And I also grew my own herbs to do some of my moisturizing cream stuff like this. So it's not that easy, not that long. I have 4 kids, I work full time. And when I have a free time, I like to sail as well. And so you can manage to do it yourself as well. It's just what I try to. Maybe you need that little tap in the back and say, you can do it.
That's terrific. So if you will send me the name of that book, I'll add it to my next missive that I send out. Okay. And I guess one last thing I'd like to say is that much of what you're talking about is the way my grandparents and my parents lived, because we did not have the availability of the artificial clothing, if you will. We did not have the availability of the plastics. Grandma always took bags to the grocery stores. Paper was used. And so I guess we need to go back to what we were doing before. So again, I'd like to give you a Shellback round of applause. That was amazing. Thank you so much for your efforts and your continued efforts. And perhaps you'll join us occasionally on Shellbacks when you're not working.
Yes, or when I'm sick. Try to be sick on Wednesday all the time.
Can I sneak in a quick question?
I would like to thank you for your patience, because I've been spoken a lot. When someone give me the opportunity, I try to keep people, lock the door and say, okay, you have to listen to me. Convenient is no more acceptable.
Can I
I see that Jim has a quick question. Jim, we are way over time.
Yes, ma'am. I have heard that sand is becoming a shortage issue in the making of concrete. Could the plastics be used as filler to make concrete?
Possibly.
Probably. My chemical knowledge are not well established to be able to answer, but I've seen bricks made of plastic. I've seen a lot of product, the item. Even I saw a small boy who was burning the plastic mask to build some chair. I'm not sure if it's good for his lungs to breathe all those plastic, but maybe there's a way to slowly melt the plastic without releasing too much chemicals out of it. But definitely we can transform that plastic that is already out there and give it another value and keep the contamination with the ecosystem, with all the species out there.
I would like to add one last thing. You said microplastics. are not allowed in makeup in Canada, but I think there's still makeup that has microplastic in it.
The glitter this is still allowed. It's the micro beads that are supposed to be banned. But I think they are still a little bit here and there.
So we need to ask before we buy.
Or just read the ingredient. And if you want to have a clean list of ingredients, go to the David Suzuki Foundation, and there is a list of 10 or 12. I have this in my phone all the time. I have a little note in my phone. And when I'm shopping and I'm not sure of something, because I still sometimes buy product with some plastic, I'm not perfect. And if I'm not sure, I just open up my notes with that list of 10 or 12, and I just check if it's in there, because you must know that fragrance, it's plastic item. So fragrance is related to plastic.
Yeah. Okay, that's absolutely wonderful. I will add the David Suzuki Foundation link as well. Thank you so much. And I'm delighted that you joined us. And I thank the the Williams, Linda and Spencer William, for inviting or referring you. And next week, we have Judith Rolls, and she's researched the lighthouses of the Delaware, and she's actually written a book about them. I can just show you, she's actually written 3 books, but this is one of them. Beautiful, beautiful book on lighthouses, and then she's got 2 others as well. And she'll be joining us to talk to us about the lighthouses on the Delaware from Milton, Delaware. So again, our Zoom is helping a lot there. And then in June, I sent out a little message in our message yesterday about possible virtual tours. I'm still doing research on it, but I asked you a question at the end of that missive. So if you would take a look at it, I'd love to hear your responses. And with that, pipes out.